Hello, everybody. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Green Space. I'm Jimmy Carbone, your host for the evening. We're just getting started, so as you all come in, we'll make a few announcements. So please come in and get your seat. There's some great food over here. Our good friend Jonathan White came from Milford, New Jersey, from Bobolink, and he's got some pork rillettes and cheese and bread. So cheers to Bobolink. All right. And initial beer was donated by Bronx Brewery, Brooklyn Brewery, and Sam Adams. So cheers to those guys. So, all right. Before we start the show, I'd like to ask you to silence all your electronic devices. And as you know, the bar in the lobby is open. You're going to see us taste some homebrewed beers on stage, and later on we're going to let you taste them too. And vote for the one that you like best. And plus, we'll hear live music from the Balin Brothers. But right now, it's time to talk beer. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the third annual Craft Beer Jam at the Jerome L. Greene Performance Space. Thank you. Today is Wednesday, July 17th, and it's the second show of our three-part panel series on all things craft beer. Next Wednesday, the 24th, is our final panel. It's going to be the one of the coolest shows, as we'll be talking about Queens as a hub for some of the newest and best local breweries. And if you saw the Times today in the dining section, they profiled all the guys that are going to be on our show next week, which is pretty awesome. So you'll see Big Alice, Rockaway Brewing, Bridge and Tunnel, and Single Cut Beersmith here next week. So we've got a great panel of guests. We'll be talking with some of the more accomplished homebrewers who have gone on to become pros, and professional tasters and brew shop owners here. So why don't we have the panel introduce themselves, just say a little bit about what you're doing and your role in the beer community.
Hello, my name is Chris Cuzme, and I'm the brewer at 508 Gastrobrewery. I've been a long-time home brewer since 2001, and I have found myself brewing professionally now, out of nowhere, but having a lot of fun doing it.
I'm Sam Merritt. I run the first beer education consulting company in the U.S., and been at it for 8 years. Before that, I was brand manager for Brooklyn Brewery for 10 years, and I work with distributors of beer, also brewery reps and retailers, consulting and getting people to store and serve and sell beer properly.
I'm Mary Izett. I am a nationally ranked beer judge with the Beer Judging Certification Program. I'm also the 2012 president of the New York City Brewers Guild. I do some beer writing, co-host a homebrew show, and I'm a huge advocate of urban brewing.
Hi, I'm John LaPolla. I am owner of Bitter Esters Homebrew Shop in Brooklyn, New York. We're a homebrew shop and also the only brew on premises in New York State. And I've been homebrewing since 1991, since I was 6 years old.
Cheers, John.
Well, everybody, let's give everybody a round of applause and welcome them to the show. All right.
Cheers.
So this is a pretty cool group of people. Chris Cuzme started as a home brewer, but he's a musician. And he's gone on to become a pro brewer, which is pretty awesome. Chris, tell us how you got started, because you're kind of the dream come true for everybody.
Yeah, I got started. I always wanted to live on the land. Okay, so I'm a musician. I live here in New York City to be a musician, and I never thought that I could homebrew in New York City, but that's totally false. I realized that very quickly after moving to Philadelphia. To be a professional musician in Philadelphia, take a break from New York City, started brewing, got my first kit from Home Sweet Homebrew, George and Nancy, and I became instantly addicted to that weight. I mean, it's like, I love cooking, I've always loved cooking, but when cooking, you get immediate results. And in brewing, you have to wait, and you have to wait for that fermentation to happen. But while that fermentation is happening, these yeasts are doing their thing, and you don't want to bother them because you could risk contamination. And there's this angst and there's this anxiety. You just don't know what the hell's going on, and you don't want to do anything. But I became addicted to that, and just wanting to know that I did things right. Got involved in the New York City Homebrewers Guild shortly thereafter. I stayed in New York City. My first meeting at the New York City Homebrewers Guild was the same first meeting as my friend Christopher Post. And Chris Post and I ended up opening a brewery 2 years ago called Wandering Star Brewing Company. We talked about doing it while we were part of the guild, and he was daydreaming at work one day, looking on eBay, and he found this brewing system on eBay and for a ridiculously low price. He put a bid down, thought no way he was going to get it, didn't look at it again, went into work on Monday, and he got this email that said, "Congratulations, you're the proud new owner of this brewery." And so he called me up, it's like, "We got to do this." Here we are. We did it 7 years later, because everything that could go wrong did go wrong. So I went from brewing 5 gallons at a time to brewing 15 barrels at a time. A barrel is 31 gallons, and this system was really awesome. It was really, like it was. We were talking before the show how, you know, when you jump that mile, it's like, oh my God, we're flying, you know, and it was absolutely like that, and it was very cool. But I was still a fish out of water, and I was learning under Chris's tutelage at that time because he had done the American Brewers Guild course. Yada yada. This is all the while during this time, I've been a giant advocate of craft beer in New York City, and I've been doing a lot of different tastings. Mary and I started a tasting a collective called the New York City Degustation Advisory Team, teaching people how to pair beer with food and to taste things in a different way, and mostly for wine enthusiasts and food enthusiasts who don't otherwise think of beer in that manner. Along with that, helped run New York City Beer Week, or New York Craft Beer Week. Out of nowhere, I get a call this last November while I'm doing sales and marketing for Wandering Star. Wandering Star is in Pittsfield, Massachusetts, and as a musician, I'm not going to move to Pittsfield, Massachusetts. I love the brewing side of it, but I really love playing music in New York City, and the gigs in Pittsfield are few and far between. So I stayed here, and that left me to being, you know, the role of the face of Wandering Star for New York City, along with my partner Alex Hall. But this left this angst. This, you know, I still homebrew very much, but still, like, I wanted to support my music habit through beer somehow. I get this call in November and find out that 508 is looking for a new brewer, or looking for part-time brew help is kind of how it was worded. And I was like, part-time, I love part-time. and so I was like, yes, you know, if you want me, I'm in. I can't wait to start working with the brewer there. I mean, I'd love to go check it out. And they sent me an email back. I was like, actually, the brewer left. It's your house if you want it. And I was like, really? Crazy. And here I am doing it. This is a very unusual story. It doesn't happen this way for brewers. Like, you know, to get a job in the brewing world, you spend years cleaning kegs, and then if there's an opening above that, then you get to go above that, and it kind of starts there. But at 508, we are a really small system. We're a 50-gallon system, and it's a one-man operation. So I'm a keg cleaner who brews in his spare time, really. But
all right. Well, a couple of things we're going to try to accomplish tonight. First, we're going to give you an introduction to our guests. We're also going to have them talk to you about how to taste beer. And in that context, you're going to get to taste some of the homebrew beers. And we're going to taste through some of the homebrews on stage. And especially Mary and Sam are going to give you their expert advice. A couple of the homebrewers are here tonight. There's Jason Saylor, Kyler Surfass, and Drew Nissen. They kindly brought their own homebrew, which you'll get to taste afterwards. And also, Mary Izett brought some of her short mead that she's made, and Chris Cuzme also brought some beer, and John LaPolla. So let's go on to John, because John brought this really cool book that I like a lot. It's Charlie Bamforth. If you want to learn about beer, a good place to start is books. And there are some good books. Last week we talked about Tom Acatelli's Audacity of Hops, which really looked at the history of craft beer in America. But Charlie Bamforth has been one of the leading professors of beer at UC Davis for a long time. But this book is a really good introduction. It talks about the history of beer in New York. And I'm going to read to you a little bit what he said, because I think that it's kind of cool. The title is Beer, Tap into the Art and Science of Brewing. And he said, basically he sums up, this is what beer is devoted labors of all those whose combined efforts bring beer to the glass. The farmer who grows the best barley, the hop grower who cultivating a unique crop, the maltster who converts barley into delicious malt, the brewer who combines malt and hop to feed a yeast, and that he or she will have protected for perhaps hundreds of years, the bartender who keeps the beer in top condition. So we're kind of trying to cover a lot of bases tonight, but give you a sense of what goes into making beer. But really, this is the most basic. There's homebrewers here, there's some experts, and we're going to taste some beer. So first, let's each grab one of the glasses. The first beer we have is from Jason, a Southern English Brown. And John, can you let me handle that?
Sure.
So, Mary, you had something to say about this beer. Mary, you get to taste a lot of beers. You're a national beer judge. Tell us about how you got into that and the things that you look for when you're tasting a homebrew beer.
Well, first I started homebrewing. I have a science background. in both undergrad and graduate school. So I was into craft beer. Everybody kept asking me, why aren't you brewing? Why aren't you brewing? So I started brewing in January of 2006. That happened to coincide with the beginning of these beer judging certification program classes. It was the first time the classes were offered in New York City in 8 years. They started in February 2006. So I showed up to that. Now, granted, I was the only female in the class, and I've been brewing a month at that point. There were guys in this class that had been brewing for 20 years. So I was the underdog for sure. So I overcompensated, possibly, but we have these guidelines, the beer judging certification guidelines, that basically talk about styles. So they break all of the beers down into style categories and subcategories. And I carried this 50-page pamphlet with me everywhere, and I took notes on every beer that I drank between February and June of 2006. And I studied like nobody's business. But I did well on the exam, and now I'm a nationally ranked judge. So this is how I learned to taste. I think, first of all, experience. Writing it down for me was very important. Now we have iPhones and Android phones, and we have these apps that you can take notes on and put your ratings in and check into your beers, and I think those are really useful tools. Because I think the first key is just thinking about what you're smelling and drinking. So first off, when you pour a beer, it's going to be difficult for you guys that are drinking out of cans or bottles, but you want to take a nice aroma right when it's poured, because there are certain volatile components to the aroma that dissipate quickly. So swirl a little. This is a beautiful, so Southern English Brown is a category that we learn as a BJCP trainee, but it's not commercially available in the United States. So if you guys go back and taste Jason's beer, unless you hang out in England a lot, this will probably be the only one that you ever taste, right now anyway. So aroma, you want to take a look. How does it pour? How high is the head? Is it clear? And then, of course, taste.
There's a Czech proverb. And it goes something like this. If you want to tell the quality of a beer, you can do it by sipping, but one wants to be entirely sure.
Absolutely.
Cheers to Sam. All right.
So I always think retronasal breathing is very important. So you take a sip, you hold it in your mouth, and then you breathe out. Because part of the important components of taste, actually, or flavor, is getting your mouth warming up and interacting with what the liquid or the food that you're tasting. And then when you breathe out, you're going to get aromas from that translate into flavor, actually. So that's important. And then mouthfeel is the last thing. So those are kind of the four components that you think about: aroma, the appearance, flavor, and mouthfeel.
The cool thing about beer tasting is that you always swallow.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
You never spit it out.
Spitting it out is very uncivilized.
Yeah.
And John, I thought you were going to ask for some water.
No water for me.
And
no
also,
water's allowed at a beer tasting.
Beer is natural. Beer is carbonated. Pretty much all beer is carbonated. So you don't have to worry about aeration like you do when you drink wine, sip wine. So, and we have taste, but we have. You do get aroma and flavor when you swallow. So that's why I think it's very important to swallow with beer.
Sure. If you think about, taking the liquid or the food into your system, your esophagus and your throat are really coated with that once you finish swallowing, whatever it is. And so you have, you can swirl it around the glass, and you're going to create more surface area and volatiles in the air around it. But the most concentrated it can be is, of course, right after you sip or right after you eat a bite or whatever. And so that air that you're breathing out is just as important as that air you're breathing in right before you take the dive into the sip. And if you think about your breathing, what happens when you usually drink something, you don't have to think about it now, but be aware that you're going to stop breathing at some point, and what are you going to do but take a breath? Yeah?
Hopefully.
Yes, hopefully take a breath, unless there's some contest going on. Yeah.
I teach with my beginning classes. I teach a beginning homebrew class, and I teach them how to taste like this. Take it in, contemplate. Make sure you smell it. breathe out, and I tell them, if you're at a bar, do that once. Don't do that for the entire pint because you're going to get beat up. And enjoy your beer, like just drink it. But it's good to recognize the beer. But beer is meant to be drunk. So
although I gotta say, my notebook got me a lot of free tastings and cellar tours in the day. So.
But ultimately, I think there are only two kinds of beer: good beer and the other kind, and it's an individual choice decision on what that is.
Absolutely.
Or a judgment call.
Yeah.
And you don't have to think about it too much.
We tell our classes that the palate is like a fingerprint. So what tastes bitter to me might taste not so bitter to the next person. And the key is that with our bodies, we're in charge. You don't have to have your coffee like me, Jimmy. I don't mind. I won't judge you. That's a big part. And say, hey, this beer right here, although it has very similar, it has the same everything going for it. It tastes different to each one of us. And that, I might prefer it less than John over here, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because we don't have to drink it together, but for this one beer. And then I'll say, oh, well, I like it better than you, or it doesn't even matter, my opinion. That's a key.
So, Mary, when you actually do judge beers, now what are you comparing it to? So
I don't have anything.
By style,
I've been to England once. But honestly, I maybe have drank this style once or twice in my entire life. So I don't, and honestly, I'm not carrying those BJCP style guidelines with me. I drink as weird as I can these days. So there's no, I don't judge everything against these guidelines. I think it was a great training. I learned a lot about my palate and a lot about how to enjoy beer. But I don't walk into a bar and take notes on all the beers. So, I think this is a wonderful. I had a preview of this. I tasted it at the New York City Homebrewers Guild last night. This is a 3.7% beer, first of all. That's pretty low alcohol. So when you guys go back and taste it, it's hard to get flavor at a little alcohol because that means fewer ingredients have gone into this beer to give it flavor. So I have a lot of respect for being able to drink something very sessionable that has this much aroma and flavor. And it's just, I think that Jason has combined the malts, which give this beer its color and a lot of its flavor, it's really beautiful. There's a lot of complexity to this beer, so I hope you guys get a chance. When you go over there, I'm sure all three beers are wonderful. I know all three homebrewers, and they're all excellent. But it really is a special beer.
And cheers to Jason.
Yeah.
Right.
Cheers, Jason.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Good stuff.
and you all get to taste it too. I feel.
You can watch us drink it right now.
But that's something that's special about homebrewing is that Jason, I'm not sure if he's ever had a commercial example of this style, but we all hear about it as homebrewers, and you have the chance to make something at home that you can only imagine in your head, and that's something that's very special about homebrewing.
Let's jump to John. So John has a very cool shop, one of the cooler shops in New York. Tell us about what you do, because it's a homebrew shop, but you really give classes, and then you make beer too.
Yeah, so we're a homebrew supply shop. So we sell everything you need to brew beer. Bitter Esters, by the way, is the name of the shop. And we also teach classes. We teach a beginning class about 4 times a week because people are really interested in learning how to brew beer at home. So we teach a class, we brew a beer during the class, and we show everyone what to do. But we also have advanced classes, and we have one in particular that's really cool where a brewery comes in and teaches you how to brew their beer. It's called Brew Like a Pro. And that's a fun class because people are really into, let's say, Lagunitas, and they want to know how Hop Stupid is made. Lagunitas came in and they made Hop Stupid, and it was really cool to see what they actually did with that. So that's a fun class. But on top of all that, as if I did not sleep enough, we are also a brew on premises, and we're the only ones in New York State that actually offer the fact that you can come and brew beer at the store, which is really a lot of fun. You make 6 cases of beer, and people will do it for a party, and they'll come in, they'll bring pizzas and beer and have this party, and they'll make a beer without having to really know what they're doing. We clean up after them. That's what they really like about it.
That's important.
Yeah, it's important. Then they come back in a couple of weeks, and they fill it up, and they take the beer home and they drink it, and it's great. It's really, I've met so many people in the past 2 years, so many great brewers. I got to tell you, the perk of owning a homebrew shop is the fact that people bring you beer all the time. It's like 10 in the morning. You're like, hey, try my Pliny the Elder clone.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, with coffee? Sure, that's awesome. So it's really been a lot of fun owning the shop, and it's a business, and owning my own business has been a lot of fun. I've been brewing since, like I said, since 1991. A friend of mine, I went to visit him in California, and it was the first, like, craft beer really wasn't taking off, well, not in New York, certainly. And I went out and I had a Sierra Nevada, I think, and a Pete's Wicked Ale. And I was like, oh, these are great. My friend said, we can make these. So I said, all right, and we tried, and it was terrible. So I said, I know it gets better than this. So I went back home and started brewing. And back then, in the early 1800s, you didn't have so much information. The internet was, me and Al Gore still were working on it. And, there just wasn't that much information available to brewers. So you had Charlie Papazian's book, The Joy of Homebrewing. I have the first edition still. And, he was just like throw hops into sweet liquid and throw some yeast pack in it, and that's what we did. And nowadays, man, the homebrewers, they know everything. It's great. It's like there's just so much information available to them, and they know just so much about it, and people are making really incredible beers. So that's the fun thing, that we're really making good beer, and we're doing it ourselves. People have brewed beer themselves forever. It wasn't until Prohibition that really put the kibosh in the United States on that, and now we're coming back. You see people doing a lot of DIY things, and people making sauerkraut and kefir and whatever, kombucha stuff.
And bread.
And bread, yeah, and eggs and whatever. They're making their own food.
Bread, eggs. Bread, eggs.
I never used to make my
some
own
bacon.
eggs.
Every now and then somebody throws some bacon in a pan or in the oven. It's awesome.
So the quality, it's the quality.
But if you go to one of his classes, he is this funny. So, and I sat
Jimmy
through his
took one of my
class.
classes, yeah.
Chris, we were talking last year after he started at 508 Gastrobrewery, and I learned there's a new law. You can have a restaurant and put a brewery in it. And I thought, wow, let's do that. Let's have some funny stuff. The first thing you should do is take one of John's classes. And I went there, and I'm like, I'm never brewing.
Totally talked him out of brewing.
3 hours
awesome.
of cleaning. It was like.
Yeah, you were like, thanks,
But he's
John.
funny. He's very funny.
I'm not going to brew now. I was like, wow, that was counterintuitive. Yeah, all right, awesome. I brewed with Mr. Cuzme at 508. He's doing a brew laboration thing.
That's right.
Bro lab.
Bro-laboration. It's bro-laboration.
No,
For you.
I have to interject. They have a line at the brew pub here that I just heard about, which I love. It turns out these two, hang out together and live together and stuff. So that's why I'm here, right here. But they have a dedicated line to Mary, and it's called Pillow Talk. And it's all these things that they come up with themselves, which I thought is a wonderful expression of your relationship. I'll leave it at that.
What are some of the titles of
sour.
the? What are some of
There's a
the?
lot of sour things.
What are some of the titles of the Pillow Talk beer?
Well, we're in the
you guys
middle.
make?
We are actually brewing right now. So Mary is very into sour and smoked beers, and sour takes a long time to do. There's a way you can get things by kettle souring. So we actually mashed in last night. Some of the titles. The first one we're only doing our second beer right now. The first beer we did was a Berliner Weiss, and we call it Bangin' Berliner. Nothing happened during that match. It was cool. It was interesting. And now we're doing the Sour Seduction Saison, which is souring, and we're going to finish that tonight.
Yep.
Hence why I'm right here. I can feel it. It's like
Maggie, I think we need our second homebrew, so we can talk more about that. But Sam, you're really a legend. I mean, the first time we met, you were selling Brooklyn beer. But how did you get your first job in the beer business?
I was selling.
This is a great story.
And you know what? Some of you local New Yorkers will probably remember this newspaper if it's still out. But I was working for I was selling print advertising for a free local paper called The Resident, and I was working on a draw, which meant that you had to sell enough advertising to cover your expenses and all this. And one week I think I made $36, and I was like, I'm sure that's less than the people that McDonald's were, make. And I was a little disturbed. And so somebody said, the New York Times has this great thing where every Sunday they put out a big section in it. It's a job section. All you need is like a crayon and $1.50, So I go and I bought the New York Times for the first time ever, and my parents had bought it, but I had never, I'm like, what am I going to read that whole thing, And so I'm like, all right, you know, somebody's going to have to, you know, get somebody a job here. So I opened a thing up, and I was selling advertising space, print advertising, which is, it's a very dirty little business, and it's pretty much gone now, so that's fine. But there was a half-an-inch ad that just said, Brooklyn Brewery, salespeople wanted, 718-486-7422. And I looked at my roommate, you know, and I was like, you know, I didn't even realize they advertised jobs for beer, because if they had done that, I would have done that right away. You know, I figured you had to like inherit it or be a legacy or something, but no, it was right there. So I ran over to Brooklyn, and I sit with this guy. And when I went to college, I was a swimmer. I was an NCAA swimmer, and we have double workouts, which means that you're in the pool at 6 in the morning, and then you're in the pool again at 3 for 2-3 hours at a time. It's kind of intense. But I also was in this fraternity where all we did was drink, you know, and we'd go to the bar, and they would drop me off on the steps of the gym at like 4 in the morning, and then the coach would drag me into the pool and I'd swim. But the point is this, that this guy that was interviewing me, it turned out he was a swimmer in college as well, and we swam the same strokes, and you know, we talked about our times and all this, and our paths had crossed, and the thing is, he knew that I could soar with or hoot with the owls at night and soar with the eagles the next day, which is a lot of what the beer business is about, because you get these jobs where you have to go out and drink beer a lot, you know, and I could still, you know, get into the office and do the work as well, and strap beer on my back and go into the city. And so it was very serendipitous. I had no idea that, you know, I was training when I was training for this business, but I was. But, you know, my father started homebrewing in 1981, right after they passed the law, and I was I was young. I was 10 or 12, and my father is a woodworker, and he builds wooden boats, and he built our house and all the furniture in it, and he's a freak about wood. You probably know some. Given its NPR, I'm sure everyone likes their wood around, but you can't have too much wood. You just can't. Anyway, he's obsessive, and so he was obsessive about home brewing beer, and so I did it with him one day, and every bottle exploded, you know, in the basement, and I just saw from the disappointment and the sheer failure that my father could have, that this was something I wanted to do. You know, I got to get into this and show him that I could do this. So, you know, but beer, you know, is around, you know, the whole time, and part of, you know, my company is that beer is the cause and reason for civilization itself. And so you laugh, but you look up University of Pennsylvania. You know, Mr. McGovern there, and he'll show you with his science, and I'll tell you with my heart. But it's the reason and the cause. So, you know, it's been here the whole time, and if you're just getting into beer has been waiting for you. You know, it's been waiting. So
It waits for me every morning.
it waits for you. It's the reason I get up every afternoon.
It's right there with your coffee.
But you know. So I have a great time with beer. I always have, but I really teach a lot of people about beer and make them comfortable in drinking it and selling it, and that's my way of sharing, you know. But, yeah. So,
Well done.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you, sir.
Well, the next beer that we have, Drew, is one of our homebrewers. It's a Black Bohemian Kolsch. So, John, you want to talk us through this one a little bit?
Black Bohemian Kolsch.
That's a stretch.
It is. As far as I know, Kolsch's are yellowish, right?
It's an Appalachian Controllee from Cologne, and there's only 22 or so, 19 breweries
And they're all
that
from
can call themselves
Kuhn.
that, and it's very specific on what a Kolsch can be in Germany.
Right. So I'm assuming that it's a Kolsch because it was fermented cool using Kolsch yeast, and that's probably about the Kolschiest thing about it, right? Bohemian also.
So you know, Czech Pilsner, the first Pilsner,
Right, yeah.
you know, that they're lending themselves to noble hops, which are spicy and herbal,
Right.
and so you get if you've had a Pilsner or Kel or a Staropramen, you're getting some of that little bit of spicy hop thing.
Kolsch's are actually some of the hardest beers to make, and I'm talking about the traditional Cologne Kolsch. They need to be fermented almost perfectly, or else they either taste very fruity like an ale, or they tend to taste like shellfish, which is a weird thing. Yeah, Kolsch's. And I've been to Cologne a couple of times, and that's all you get is Kolsch's, and they're awesome. You go just from bar to bar and step over the dogs that are in every bar in Cologne. But this is delicious. Yeah, Mary, how would you judge this?
Category 23.
Which is?
Specialty beer. Beers that don't fit in any category.
Right, yeah. Everything else, which is funny because, there are a lot of beers that are just everything else, right?
Yeah.
I mean, people are always wanting, the homebrewers, beginning homebrewers always are like, well, I'd like to make a pale ale, but I'd really rather make an IPA with lavender and ice chips or whatever, like chocolate chips. They always want to make something crazy, and I'm like, why don't you just make a pale ale and just get the first beer under your belt? But that's the beauty of beer, though. You can do whatever you want with it. You really can.
But I mean, I think in the Homebrew Alley, so we have Chris runs New York City's homebrew competition every year, and 23 was the biggest category.
It's one of the biggest, yeah. I'm pretty sure it's the biggest this year.
When
you don't know, getting way.
Also, because it can be confused with a Pilsner or even an American light ale, like a Coors Light or a Bud Light or a Miller Lite. And so it's such a delicate beer that any flaws that it might have come right out. And one thing that you can hide behind, and I've done it many times, is roast and hop. And so if you make a giant, bitter, dark beer, you can pass it off nicely and say, hey, isn't this giant, bitter, and dark? And everyone goes, yes, it is. That's great. But there might be something behind there that you messed up, but that's okay, And so it's important, it's important to have these style guidelines to go from, but only as a jumping off point. And I think the key to home brewing and the home brewing that I've done and that hopefully some of you will try is that you're baking, you're cooking for someone, and when you're making a small amount of it, it's a very personal thing. So, for example, my sister got married a couple of years ago, and I made 5 gallons of beer for the engagement dinner, and I made special bottles with the date on them, and I made beautiful labels, and it was only for that one time. And I've never been able to recreate, nor have I ever tried to recreate that beer. But it was spot on beautiful. It was a Belgian triple with cilantro in it. And it was gorgeous. Everyone had cilantro on their teeth and everything. It was perfect. But it's this very personal thing you can do for people. So, think about that when you're motivating yourself to brew your own beer, is that it doesn't have to just be for you. You can give it to people once you get good enough.
That's one of the sad things about homebrewing is when you get to the last 2 bottles, and when you made an incredible batch, and you're like, I have these 2 bottles. Yeah. When should I drink them? And then you drink 1 bottle, and you say, I have this 1 bottle. What do I do with this? I'll save it forever and never drink it. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Yeah. And then you drink it, and then it's gone forever.
It's gone, and it's a real snapshot because consistency is everything in commercial brewing, and it's one thing to make a different thing every time at home, but if someone's expecting something out in the market and paying their money, and you give them something totally different, they could want their money back sometime.
But no money in homebrewing. So
there's no money in
complete
homebrewing.
freedom.
Yeah. Is that why Budweiser hires the best brewers in the world?
That's why. Yeah. It's one of them. One of them.
This is Drew's beer?
Yes.
Let me just say it's delicious.
Yeah,
Drew. It's really, really good.
It's really good.
Cheers, Drew. Cheers.
The finish is definitely Kolsch. The finish is so clean.
It's really clean.
And that's a real, after I've had a couple of sips, the finish goes away really Kolsch-like. So that's it.
Did you guys think you'd be laughing so much at a homebrew show? You guys are great. Give these guys a round of applause. Come on. You guys this is really cool. And I'm learning something too. That's the whole thing. So John, let's go back. You're at your shop, which is a cool shop. What are some things that you sell there besides classes?
Oh, what else do we sell besides classes?
Homebrew supplies.
We sell homebrew supplies. We sell hops and yeast, and I wish I could sell water. That would be really cool. But someone else already beat us to that. Damn you, Dancy. What else do we sell? We sell my girlfriend's T-shirts. She makes T-shirts that are really cool. And we sell the brew on premises. So yeah, we don't sell beer. We will give you tastes of beer. It's a terrible business model. We'll give away beer, but we don't ever actually sell beer. Eventually, we hope to, but it's a tough racket, selling beer. But
and Chris, even for you, like as a pro brewer, there's still some homebrew supply shops that you go to. Tell us about some of the good ones in New York City that you like.
Absolutely. I mean, first of all, thank you, John, for opening up your store. When I started homebrewing in New York City, it was 2001, and there was no homebrew store in New York City. There was one place, it's Queens, a hydroponic store in Queens that you can't get through the
Queens Boulevard.
Yeah, but you can't get there by train. It's
you definitely can't walk there.
And consequently, the turnover rate on the ingredients is not as fresh as you need. So I would order, from here, from my friends back in Philly. And then 4 years ago, then came along Brooklyn Homebrew, Bitter Esters, Brooklyn Brew Shop, and Brooklyn Kitchen. And thanks to those 4 shops in New York City, like homebrewing has boomed. We went from having 2 homebrew clubs, the New York City Homebrewers Guild and the Malted Barley Appreciation Society, to having roughly 10, one in almost every borough. And so every meeting might not be for everybody. If you guys are interested in home brewing, or if any of this is coming across or if you are homebrewing now and don't know that these places exist, find your local homebrew club, and there are people that are supportive, and you don't have to be a member to attend a first meeting or even to hang out, but to learn about homebrewing. One of the things I love about brewing in general, whether it's pro or home, are the people that you meet. I mean, when you go into that room, you might be from all different walks of life, but you're just a brewer and you're sharing a common passion, and it's amazing. And just the friends I've gotten, the girlfriend I got is pretty cool too. I like that one.
She's a hell of a fermenter also.
Yes, she's a hell of a fermenter. Have you tried Pillow Talk?
I'm scared to. It's funny. Chris came into my shop today and bought all of my Belle Saison yeast. It's a dry yeast, and as soon as he left, someone came in and said, "I'm looking for Belle Saison yeast." And I said, "Just walked out." So he comes in a lot and wipes me out, which is
going
cool.
back to that. So I brew so little at a time. It's the most cost effective for me to buy from homebrew stores brewing commercially, but. So I buy all my bulk grains, the base grains, the most fermentable grains from in bulk. But for specialty grains, and sometimes hops and sometimes different yeasts, I'll support the local communities like Bitter and Esters and the aforementioned shops, just to keep in touch with my friends and also to support the community. I love what's going on here. And to that regard, the reason we brewed together was because I've started a collaboration at 508, supporting the different homebrew clubs, and I've invited all the homebrew clubs and homebrew stores to come brew with me a beer and feature and benefit a charity of their choice when their beer is on at 508, and been having a lot of fun doing that. And
nice.
And his beer is coming out next Tuesday.
Yo Jimbo.
Yo Jimbo.
Yo Jimbo. What kind of beer is that?
It's a cherry rice honey wheat ale.
Category 23.
Yeah, it's a category 23.
That's the pudding category.
It's somewhere between 10 and 14% alcohol, I think, and you can't tell. And our charity actually is the American Cancer Society. And we had a blast brewing with Chris because his brew space is smaller than this stage, and we made 70 gallons of this stuff. And he cleaned out the mash tun upside down. It's pretty amazing. And then we made a huge mess. Yeah. During the fermentation, our beer actually attacked the kitchen, which was pretty cool. He sent me a video of it, so that was really great. But that was a great experience. I really had a great time. And Brooklyn Homebrew did a beer before that. They made a delicious wheat beer, Grano Americano. And then the Staten Island Homebrew Club, Poor Standards, they call themselves, are brewing. And I'm good friends with them. I'm following them on Facebook, and they're really talking about what they're going to make. And I don't know if I should say what it is, but yeah.
We're brewing on Sunday. We're brewing with some local coffee from Richmond County, or Staten Island, as it were.
Coffee IPA, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Category 23.
Yeah. Category 23. Exactly.
So that's going to be fun.
Looking for like a cold brewed coffee kind of thing for August is kind of what we're looking for.
Yeah, that sounds good. What about some like bad things that happen when you're making beer? Like you have a class and the beer turns out bad. What do you do?
Well, it never happens. Weird things that happen, like I've periodically get shot in the face with beer, so I'm getting kind of used to that, because sometimes, one time I had on a brew on premises beer, when you're brewing beer, during fermentation, a lot of CO2 is created. So you have these little locks that allow the CO2 to escape, but sometimes they get clogged. So one time I went downstairs, 10 in the morning, and my 20-gallon fermenter was like fat. And that meant it was filled with CO2. The lock was clogged. So without even thinking, I just pulled the lock out and and I actually stopped the beer from getting all over the place with my face. So it was, that was pretty cool. That beer came out fantastic, and I got a good taste of it that day. One of the funny things that happened during Brew Like a Pro is that Lagunitas on Hop Stupid, they use something called a hop extract. It's actually a CO2 hop extract. And hops bitterness comes from an acid inside the hops. And so they use an actual extracted acid, which is just like this yellow goo. So you only need like an ounce of it for 16 gallons to make the beer very bitter. And everybody at the class said, I want to taste that. Now, I should have known, because hops taste terrible when you eat them. Concentrated hops should taste a lot worse. So everybody sticks their fingers into this hop extract and tastes it, and everybody's going, ah! Like sticking stuff in their tongues. And stupidly, I did it too. Everybody did it. Everybody had to try it.
You saw it happen. I got to do that.
I was like, ah! Can I have some more? Ah, so bitter, so bitter. So that was pretty hilarious. It's always a day.
All right.
It's like when those Sour Patch candies came out and the kids just torture each other with them.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, talking about things that go wrong, like flavor things can go wrong. Like we're getting into the category 23. We're trying all these different things, and my very first beer was a molasses porter. Like I was doing reading on homebrewing, how to homebrew, and I realized, back I wanted to do something traditional. I was living in Philadelphia, wanted to do like a straight up traditional beer. George Washington loved porters. I love porters, and I couldn't get very many porters. Knew you could throw a lot of different sugar in there, so I took 2 giant ladles full of dark molasses and threw it in there for some higher fermentable sugar, and it was just this molasses bomb that they probably drank and loved back then, but didn't do me any good. But it was an amazing cooking beer. It was a horrible drinking beer, but I brined pork with it. I used some of that pork to beat Garrett Oliver in a cooking contest at the Blind Tiger, which I I try to remind him of that every time I can.
They call it reverse synergy.
Yeah.
But yeah, the bottles just all exploded when my dad and I first made them. Someone had told us that, fruit has the natural sugars in it, the fructose, and the wine people use the grapes. So we took a raisin, one single raisin, and put it in each bottle and figured, that'll just be the touch. And there's an incredible amount of CO2 that you can make from one grape. And so what's nice about it is it's a very natural process, so it doesn't all happen at once. So each bottle exploded on its own accord, and at different times of the day. And there was this one time where my mother was like yelling at me, and it was like the punctuation. She was telling me something that I had done wrong, and then, as soon as she was done, you hear the pop, in the basement, and it was a very dark beer. It was all over. But so making your own beer, we say that making great beers very hard, but making horrible beer is a piece of cake. It's really easy. It's really easy to mess it up, and so that's why you try so hard. And it's the same thing with people that are learning to cook bread or sourdough or ferment things. There's such again, like Chris said, there's this weight that happens. And if you've ever made a souffle or anything that you have to put it in an oven for a bit of time, and you feel that anxiety of the thing in the oven, and you've sort of walked away and you worry, and you're not supposed to open the oven, and it's going on, but you can't do anything about it. You have to send it out and just wait, and it's a real turn on for a lot of us. It's just, it's just to wonder and live in our angst,
Well, that's why I don't make wine. I just can't wait that long.
So long.
I'll wait 4 weeks,
and then it comes out maybe bad, and then they have a bad year. It's like, well, it's all for naught,
Crazy.
But
I would argue, though, that it's really easy to make beer, actually.
Yeah.
I would argue that
now it's very
Don't
easy
let
to
them
make
scare you.
great
Yeah,
beer.
no.
If you can make porridge, if you can make oatmeal, you can make beer now.
That's right.
This was in 1981.
Sanitation's gotten a lot
That's
better.
what it is.
That's what it is.
Sanitation.
Sanitation's been easier.
Well, and our tools and our materials are,
We didn't even wash our hands, me and my dad.
We didn't wash our hands in the 80s. I remember. Yeah. It was a whole time we stopped doing
It was before the microscope and everything.
Well, hey, our next beer is from Kyler. It's a session. Oh, this is, again, what category is this? Session American Pale Ale with Meridian and Mosaic hops. What do you think about that, Sam? Just talk us through this.
It's gorgeous.
Gorgeous.
IPA is traditionally a style that's strong as well as bitter. And, you know, the threshold for DUI or DWI in this country is 0.08 across 50 states. So a guy my size, it's less than 2 beers in an hour. And that's a 5% beer. So anytime you see sessionable things or lower alcohol things, you're getting into something that wine could never do, and certainly whiskey couldn't do. But it's a nod to responsibility, and it's a nod to we're not just in it for the buzz, maybe the mild buzz, but so a sessionable IPA is a refreshing thing because it's a commitment to drink an IPA, and it always has been. And so this is a little bit more of a casual IPA, but IPAs always have this nice fresh hop, and these two hops that he chose, they come right out of the beer, and you get all this flavor and all of this aroma, but you don't have to worry about, you know, it's less than 5%. So, you know, drink up.
The Mosaic hop in this is a 2012 varietal. It's brand new, and it just flew out of the store. It's such an incredibly good hop. I wish you guys could taste this. You will very soon.
You can. So just hang with us. We're going to
taste it right now.
Talk this through, but at the end, we're all going to get to taste the beers.
But it's got so many different fruits, berries, orange juice. People describe it as, and it's kind of hard to find right now because
orange
they didn't
juice
know.
Next to the Christmas tree.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's Christmas morning.
This one is amazing.
All right. Let's get to some audience questions as well. So we've got some I Like Beer T-shirts from Beer Sessions Radio. And if we read off your question, you're going to get a free T-shirt, and Maggie will come by and get it for you. So there's Greg F. from Brooklyn. Put your hand up. Greg? All right. 2 Gregs. One Greg. Is it 2 Gregs or 1?
You guys are the same person.
Greg F. from Brooklyn. Your favorite beer, the Atwater IPA. Yes, okay. And the question for panelists. What is something you wish someone had told you when you first started brewing? Biggest mistake or the thing you learned later on that you wished you knew earlier? How about Mary?
Oh, man. I guess that I could do anything with homebrewing. Because that's pretty much what I do now. And if somebody had told me that back in the day, it would have been a lot different. I would have learned that a lot faster. There are no boundaries to homebrewing. I do a lot of alternative fermentations right now, especially since it's summer. And the sky's the limit. You can ferment anything, period. That's where I am now. So I think if somebody had said, you know, just go for it. Don't think about all those chemistry classes that you took as an undergrad. Just do what you want. Do what you love.
And John?
I would say that as a beginning brewer, the 2 things that I had to learn to go from good beer to great beer, first one would be to, after you're done boiling your wort, to chill it down quickly. I used to leave it overnight and then ferment it, and I always got that homebrewy taste. And by the quick chill is really important. You want to get the yeast in there, and before you get the yeast in there, you want to oxygenate your wort. It's really important. Yeast are aerobic and anaerobic in property, and they really, really should be in an aerobic environment. There's still, at first, there's still talk about, you know, other problems that can happen when you're actually adding oxygen, but in the long run, it's going to make a much better beer. The next thing is clean. Be clean. Make sure everything's clean. Clean everything and make sure it's clean. And then sanitize it.
That's what in his class he says the same thing.
Yeah.
What's your favorite sanitizer, John?
Star San. Star San.
What is that?
Stuff. Star San is just a mild acid. It's just a phosphoric acid, and it works in about a minute without rinsing. It is the bomb.
When you add it, right?
Huh?
You have to make the Tarzan, you know, yell.
Yeah.
When you do it.
Tarzan for Starzan.
Scares the hell out of the bacteria.
I used to use bleach in the old days, and you can still use bleach, but if you get a little bit of bleach in your beer, I mean, even a little bit, it's just the worst beers I've ever had. Beers made with bleach, unless you're going for a bleach IPA, which is fine. That's category 23.
That's a white IPA. That's a very white IPA.
It's a very white, very white IPA. Makes your tongue white, right?
All right, let's go. So, Nelly, let's go next.
I just want to really quickly say that I wish long ago that I knew that you could do brew in a bag. And actually, Mary hit me to doing this, but basically when we brew with 3 vessels. We have a hot liquor tank, a mash tun, and a boil kettle. But you really don't need that, especially in living in New York City. A lot of people think they need a lot of room to brew. You don't need a lot of room to brew. You could just have a boil kettle and then have a mesh bag or a bag where you could do everything in the same thing. You could heat up your water in your boil kettle. You could then put in a bag and put your grains in that bag. And instead of going to another vessel, you can just lift your bag out and then do your boil. And it's great. Saves time. And you can make great beer that way.
And equipment.
What's that?
It's good for your biceps.
Saves
too.
time, cleanup, and equipment.
Yeah.
It's beautiful technique.
I brought a brew in a bag beer tonight, so an ESB.
Brew in a bag, like shake and bake.
All right, our next one. So, Nelly Koo from New York City. Nelly? All right, Nelly. Get a free T-shirt. And this leads to our next question. Her favorite beer currently, she said currently.
I like that.
The Alchemist Heady Topper. Has anyone here had the Alchemist Heady Topper? It's pretty good. We had it last week on the show. All right, question for panelists. New York City apartments are tiny, especially kitchens. Any recommendations for MacGyver-type ways to brew in a tiny apartment? Well, Chris started that already, and Mary's a specialist in urban brewing.
So I'm a huge advocate of urban brewing. I wrote an article last year for the National Homebrewers Association magazine, and I did a seminar at the National Homebrewers Conference to about 400 people on urban brewing and alternative fermentations. So yes, you can brew in, it doesn't matter. If you're living in 200 square feet with 3 roommates, you can still brew with brew in a bag. That's the way to go. So I would love to talk to you afterward.
And we're gonna move on a little bit. We're gonna let you guys taste beer in a few minutes. Yep. First, I want John brought some cool beers that he had made. We told you about 3 of the homebrew beers that are there. Tell us about the ones that you brought, because it's something special.
Well, I brought a brew in a bag ESB, which when you do brew in a bag, it's great to do it, but you can only do like 3 gallons because the more
nonsense.
The more beer, the more grain, right? The more grain, the more arms you need.
The more bags.
The more bags. Okay, you can use several bags. She's right. She's right about that. But I can only do 3 gallons. You can do more, but yeah, I guess you have to have 2 bags. Yeah, okay, thank you. I learned something today.
If you're married.
I also brought, we do a yeast class and a hops class, and during those classes, we do a tasting where with the yeast, I make 1 wort, which is an unfermented liquid before we ferment it, and added a different yeast to each one of them so that you can taste the difference between yeast, because 90% of the flavor of beer comes from fermentation. And then I did the same thing with hops, where I made the same beer with a different hop. I did it 8 times. It took me 3 days. And so I brought a couple of those beers so we can taste the differences between hops and between yeast. I didn't bring a lot, so there's a lot of people here. I brought 6 bottles.
And Mary brought
You might not get that one.
So be really nice to me. You might get a taste.
And John's going to go over there, and the lucky people will get to taste. And Mary brought a short mead.
Yeah, I brought 2 short meads. So mead is fermented honey beverage. Short mead means that it's sessionable. It's low alcohol. So we brought a strawberry peppercorn short mead. So our kitchen is around 86 degrees right now. I'm not brewing, but I can make mead. So I brought a strawberry peppercorn short mead, which is probably around 5% ABV. And then I brought a hibiscus sangria short mead, which is probably around 4.2%. So those are pouring back there. Yes,
Yeah.
they're beautiful, and you can make them in 4 days.
All right. And Chris, you also brought something from 508 Gastrobrewery.
Yeah, I brought something from 508. I befriended a gentleman named Eddie Oysters. I saw him win in a shuck and suck contest. He was shucking, and Jimmy was sucking. It was amazing. It was
We won. New York
You
City
knocked
Food
it out
Film
the park,
Festival.
man. It was
All right.
awesome. But he's a good friend, and we talked about making this beer for a long time. Wanted to do it with Wandering Star, but Wandering Star, Chris Post actually had an oyster experience when he was younger, where he was eating a bunch of oysters in college, and he somebody said something funny, and he laughed, and he got an oyster stuck between his nose and his mouth.
Retronasal.
Retronasal. He was experiencing that.
Retronasal.
Yes. Anyway, we never made it with Wandering Star. And as soon as I took over Operation Terror, I finally was able to get this one together, and I made an oyster stout utilizing 4 dozen oysters in the barrel. So if you have shellfish allergies, do not try my beer, but it is an oyster stout.
All right. Wow. Well, we're not done yet, but we're going to segue to the next section. So our panelists will go over to the homebrew station. They'll talk you through some of the beers. You're all welcome to get up and start tasting some of the homebrews while we present a video. Okay, so we're going to get up and then to make some changes. The band's going to come out. Yeah. And if you go to the tasting table, thank you, everyone. Thanks to our panel. Thank you, guys. You can have a taste of the homebrews that we talked about, and there are ballot boxes on the next table where you can drop your red tickets to vote for your favorite one. We'll announce the winner at the end of the night. And of course, the bar is still open in the lobby if you'd like more than a taste. There's also food from Bobolink Farms for you. And in case you didn't get enough of Chris Cuzme, we have a video explaining how he makes beer at 508. Take a look while we get the tasting table ready and reset the stage for the Balin brothers. So we're going to roll the video, and it's about 3 minutes, okay? So enjoy your beers, guys. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Chris Cuzme. I'm the brewer here at 508 Gastrobrewery. We're the smallest of 3 brew pubs in all of New York City, and we yield about 50 gallons at a time. And let me show you how we do it. Grain to glass. This is the 508 kitchen. Over the kitchen through the woods. First, I design a recipe, and I use all of my base malt and base grain. We weigh it out here on this little scale, then we take it to get milled so that we can get access to that starch and convert it to sugar. Here's the mill, end of the hall. In hole, out crushed. Then we get back to the brew house. Once the grain is crushed and milled, we take the water from our hot liquor tank that has been raised to a certain temperature. That varies depending on the kind of beer you're doing. We put it into our mash tun. The mash tun has a false bottom. If you can make oatmeal, you can make beer. This is where it all happens. Basically, you're throwing in all this grain, you're putting in a bunch of water, you're letting it sit for a certain amount of time at a certain temperature. That varies depending on style. And then you leave all the solids there, and you bring that sugar water, which is now called wort, W-O-R-T, but pronounced W-E-R-T, and you throw it into your boil kettle. The boil kettle, you bring it to a boil, and you let it boil for at least an hour. This is also the point of the process where you add your third ingredient, being hops. The primary function of hops is to provide bitterness to counteract the sweetness that you have from all this sugar water, this barley sugar water. We take it from here, we cool it, and then we introduce our fourth ingredient. From this kettle, we're cooling it and bringing it down the hall. This is my fermentation room. Brewers make work, yeast makes beer. And so our job as brewers is to they are our guests of honor, and we got to make this beautiful meal and give them a happy environment with which to dine. You don't want to mess with them, just let them do their thing. We take it from there, from on top of that yeast, to our next room, which is colder than our fermentation. Here's our cold room. At a very cold temperature, the yeast will kind of go to sleep on the bottom. We'll take it, the liquid from the top, and then we'll put it into these kegs. It is not yet carbonated. When we put it into these kegs, this is where we'll carbonate. So you see these are attached with these guys. That is attached to this. And so I've got it at 35 psi. It'll spend at least, each one of these will spend at least a day in here in order to absorb that CO2. And then we bring these upstairs right beneath the taps. We pour it, it's cold, clear enough, and we love it. Cheers.
You guys ready? All right. Okay. Okay, now before the band starts, I'd like to mention that there's one more craft beer jam coming up. Next week on Wednesday the 24th, it's all about Queens. There are 4 licensed breweries there now, and we'll have representatives from all of them. Big Alice Brewery, Bridge and Tunnel Brewery, Rockaway Brewing Company, and Single Cut Beersmiths. They'll be serving their beers, and we'll have live music from Astoria's own The Great Apes. Get to thegreenspace.org to get tickets for those now. Are you guys ready for music? All right. So let's hear it for the Balin Brothers. Cheers.
Two. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Better don't break my heart. Oh no. Look out, she's back from the road again. Stay back, it's a fact. I saw her in the long grass with my best friend, yeah. Oh, yeah. Last June, she left with the traveling show. New greetings, we all said, but didn't think she would come back home. But it don't break my heart. Oh no, 'cause I can't believe it. I love you right from the start. Oh no, baby, I need you. Oh no, yeah. Part one, she no good, but I didn't listen. No, no, she's got something so sweet, couldn't find a reason to resist that. No, oh no, oh my, a sweet night in my memory. Under the April moon, she made a man out of me. So baby, don't break my heart. Oh no, 'cause I can't believe it. I love you right from the start. Oh no, baby, I need you. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la.
Thank you. Thank you. Can we get a little more guitar in the monitor? So I get a fine for saying that. That last song was called Betty Don't Break My Heart. It was about a farm girl that broke my brother's heart. This next one is a song about a girl that broke my brother's heart.
I've been riding around all day and night, yeah. I go from train to train like a fox in the moonlight. My body's broken from sleeping on the streets of Marseille. Yes, they are. been on my mind all the way from Burn to Bombay. What you say, baby? I've been really trying to get you to get back to me, but I can't seem to find just where you're at. I sent a postcard to you from every place I stay. Yes, I haven't, but I haven't heard a word blowing in the wind my way. What you say, babe? I said, baby, why are you trying to hide us, honey? Oh, did I waste my time on you and me when I thought that we were falling in love? Yeah, 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 yeah. I've been really trying to forget those days, yes, but I can't let you go. I can't just walk away, no, no. You're trying to throw the game when it's only just begun. Yes, you are. And now it's just a dream burning in the Tuscan sun. What you say, babe? Oh, baby, why are you trying to hide, honey? Oh, did I waste my time on you and me when I thought that we were falling in? Whoa, no, I must be mistaken. Whoa, no, I must be mistaken. Whoa, no, I must be mistaken about you. Yeah, 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 yeah. About you, baby. Come on. Baby, why are you trying to hide, honey? Oh, did I waste my time on you and me when I thought that we were falling in? Whoa, no, I must be mistaken. Whoa, no, I must be mistaken. Whoa, no, I must be mistaken. I must be mistaken. I must be mistaken about you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hope you're all enjoying the beer. All right. We're more like water people, but you know, especially because my ENT is here, so I can't drink beer for tonight. Not for my vocals. This next song is going to be called You've Got Me. I was walking around this so cold, cold world, just looking for something warm to hold. There were times I thought I'd never find you, girl. You found me, saved my broken soul. Tant que le soleil se couche à l'ouest, you got me, you got my love. Tant que le soleil se couche à l'ouest, you got me, you got my love. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. at best. You know I will treat you right. When the wind rises up the sea, no, I won't forget to love you all day and night. Tant que le soleil se couche à l'ouest, you got me, you've got my love. Tant que le soleil se couche à l'ouest, you got me, you've got my love. Oh, 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 oh. Oh, 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 darling girl, you light my world in giving all your love. And I just wanna thank you, darling, for giving me all of your love. Now you got me, darling, and I will give you all of my love. Oh, 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 everybody say oh, 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 oh.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Could I get a little more my vocals and Daniel's vocals in my monitor if you could? All right, Daniel's gonna go to his acoustic guitar now, and we're gonna play a brand new song for you guys. And this one's called "Leaning on the Little Things." And a little more acoustic guitar in my monitor, if you could. Acoustic guitar. Can I get a little more acoustic guitar, please? If you could, as much as you could, just because still can't really hear. Ready?
Don't you want the time to dream? Laying in the grass without your shoes. And don't you want the time to wonder and listen to the rain fall on the roof? Oh, 'cause the road winds, they take me. Sometimes they break me, but I always find the time for love. And don't you want the time to love? Laying on the little things you find. So won't you climb upon this roof with me, and we can fall asleep under the sky. the road winds, they take me. Sometimes they break me, but I always find the time for love. And my father, he told me, live your life boldly and always find the time for love. It's all I can do is give you my word that I won't wait for the world to turn. Oh, 'cause my love is right now. Yes, my love is today. And I won't wait for the little things. Slip away. Don't slip away, no, 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 no. Woo! 'Cause the road winds, they take me. Sometimes they break me, but I'll always find the time for love. And my father, he told me, live your life boldly and always find the time for love.
That song was called Leaning on the Little Thing. About all the little things in this crazy modern world.
And I tried to get my grandfather to work it on his computer so he could see it from where he is. So if you're watching, Grandpa, if you figured it out how to use the computer, hello. That song's for you. What's next? All right, this next one, we're going to slow it down just a little for you guys. This is another new one called Harbor You.
This is a ballad, everybody.
Take a big gulp of beer and be quiet for this one. Yeah.
She comes back to me in the winter of my life. Tiptoes through the darkened halls by candlelight. The years come back to her in the simple home. But she's so tired she falls asleep beside the stove. And this traveler, beaten by hard times, who will harbor this old love of mine? But I still love her, yes I still do. So maybe I'll harbor you. So she's returned to the place that she calls home, the only place where when you go there they won't leave you on your own. And so I sit and watch the midnight sun, and I can't help but forgive her for what she's done. And this traveler, beaten by hard times, who will harbor this old love of mine? But I still love her, yes I still do. So baby I'll harbor you. This old love of mine, but I still love her, yes I still do. So maybe I'll harbor you. Yes, I still do. So maybe I'll harbor you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right.
This next song is off our last record. It's called Junie.
And if you listen to our last record, you can hear the mixing of Joe Martin, who's here tonight. Pretty fantastic job there.
Take me to Elephant Park, where we can run through the rain and dance in the dark, singing watches and clocks, they all disappear. Hold me in your arms so I can stay here. I can stay here. Singing Junie, 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 Junie. You show me how to see this world. Junie, 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 Junie. That is why I'll always see this light through your eyes. Lace our shoes, feel our feet gonna sing a world unto itself, and we're in command. Oh, find me there under your wings, and shine the suns of your eyes that make children sing. Make children sing. Singing Junie, 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 Junie. You show me how to see this world. Junie, 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 Junie. That is why I'll always see this light through your eyes. To see this world. Junie, 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 Junie. That is why I'll always see this life through your eyes.
Thank you. All right. All right, you can swallow now. We're going to play a fast song. Swallow the beer. That is. All right. This one is called Hitchhiker. Oh, Dan's got to retune his bass because he tunes it down for You've Got Me, so that would have been funny. That would have been good. A nice trick. A one, a two, a one, a two, three.
Hitchhiker with no direction, a night rider with no intention. But those were the days I walked alone. Soothsayer taking my money, where the man won't say it's sunny. But those were the darkest days I've known. I would be so lost without you, girl. Yeah, I would be so lost without you, girl. I would be so lost, so lost. So I let you be so close to me. Oh, yeah. Come on. Like a sailor lost at sea, on a boat that keeps rocking me. I long for steady winds to return. With the crew hand on my neck, I took the 2 feet on the deck. I put the wheel on, and baby I took a turn. Yeah, yeah. I would be so lost without you, girl. without you, girl. I would be so lost, oh so lost. So I let you be so close to me. Be so lost without you, girl. Yes, I would be so lost without you, girl. I would be so lost, so lost. So I let you be so close to me, and I let you be so close to me. So close to me.
Thank you. Pierre Piscatelli on the keyboards, everybody. We got Sean Ritchie on guitar. My twin brother Daniel Balin on bass and vocals. And I'll wait for him to introduce me.
David Balin on drums and vocals. Oh yes, oh yes.
Which one?
We've got one more for you guys.
Thanks for coming
Oh,
out.
the groans.
Drinking the beer.
Moans. I hope you guys don't brew us after the... Oh.
Yeah, how's it going? Here we go. Boom. Boom. 2, 3, 4.
I'm gonna lay you down and love ya. One of these days, one of these days, you'll be hanging on to me. One of these days, one of these days. You're the cream of the crop in the morning. You're on your way. You're on your way. But I know you will cry my name one of these days, one of these days. But it's not gonna be so hard. Don't you know it's not gonna be so hard? Yes, I know it's not gonna be so hard to love you one of these days, one of these days, one of these days. Woo. Come on. I'm following her footsteps. I'm on my way. I'm on my way. But I know you look back at me one of these days, one of these days. But it's not gonna be so hard. Don't you know it's not gonna be so hard? Yes, I know it's not gonna be so hard to love you one of these days, one of these days, one of these days, one of these days. walking slow, but I'm running. I won't let you go. Leave me with nothing, nothing. But it's not gonna be so hard. Don't you know it's not gonna be so hard? Oh, yes, I know it's not gonna be so hard to love you one of these days, one of these days, one of these days, one of these days. It's not gonna be so hard to love you one of these days. It's not gonna be so hard to love you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. We are the Balin Brothers Band. Go on, like us on Facebook and all that junk.
Pierre
Thank you, everybody.
Piscatelli, everybody. Sean Ritchie. Daniel Balin. David Balin.
David Balin.
All right, let's hear it for these guys, the Balin Brothers. Rock on. You guys stay up here with me, too. And I want the homebrewers to come up, and we want Jonathan. Jonathan is a great guy. He's the proprietor of Bobolink Dairy and Bakehouse, and I always get it wrong. I always call it Bobolink Farm, but they make award-winning cheeses and bread. So Jonathan's over there. He's still got a lot of cheese. Go say hi to him. Thanks so much to the brewers tonight. And we have an announcement. The winners, some of you did, you put your ballots in. There was a tie between Jason and Kyler. So Jason and Kyler, if you guys want to come up. Otherwise, we're rolling the credits. So anyways, thanks so much for coming to the Jerome L. Greene Performance Space at WNYC and WQXR. Once again, thanks to all of our panelists. The Greene Space team is Ricardo Fernandez, Nikki Johnson, Jennifer Sendro, Chase Culpin, Gaines Legary, David McLean, Jennifer McLean, and Milton Ruiz. And thanks so much to our team. We got Bobolink Farmhouse, whatever they are, Bobolink. We got Martin's Pretzels, East Village Meat Market. And thanks to our whole crew, Maggie, Bree, and everybody. So I just want to say hi, you guys. Just say what your name is and the beer you made again.
I'm Jason Saylor, and I brewed the Southern English Brown Ale. Yeah,
that was rocking.
Hey, I'm Kyler Surface from Brooklyn. I'm representing Hates Brewing, Hates Homebrewing. All right. Yeah, man.
My name's Drew Nissen from Drew's Brews. I brewed the Black Bohemian Kolsch.
All right. Well, thanks, everybody, and thanks to the band, Balin Brothers. We'll see you guys next Wednesday with the Queens Breweries. Thanks so much for coming to the Jerome L. Greene Performance Space. Have a good night. Thank you.